Hello and welcome to Fuzz Talks. Now, I know I have a lot of explaining to do, especially if you've been a regular since the story records, but don't worry, I'll tell you. So, before I dive into today's topic, allow me to address the elephant in the room. And as you might already know, the story records was a project I started for schoolwork, and the concept of it revolves, or at least was supposed to revolve, around short stories I write and publish online. In other words, with the way the story records worked, unless I had a new story uploaded, it wouldn't make sense for there to be a new podcast episode. And although it's completely up to me to upload an episode without a story, I wasn't exactly fond of the idea because I thought it'd be disorienting and it'll be all over the place. Like, I could technically just upload random episodes under the story records without a story, but to me, it would feel like I'm wiping out a piece of history or something. So I decided to rebrand and make TSR a side corner for when I have new stories uploaded. And Fuzz Talks with the main brand, where I would have the freedom to upload an episode without a running theme. Like, I can just do whatever I want, essentially. Now, that aside, I've also found a new host to upload my episodes. It's called Anchor. And so far, I've had no problems with it. Or at least I haven't faced any issues that I've had with previous free services that I've used, especially for, during the period of my final year project, I was using a different host. It's called Buzzsprout. It's good, but the biggest downside to it is that it has a time limit and also an upload limit. Upload limit wasn't really an issue for me because I don't upload long episodes anyway. It's usually just like 20 minutes max. So like that wasn't an issue, but the fact that there was an upload limit led to this whole debacle of episodes being deleted on Spotify after like 90 days. But for Anchor, as far as I'm concerned, there's no such thing. So my episodes can stay up for as long as it wants to until I decided to delete it or something. But yeah, it'll be up forever, essentially, and on other platforms as well. So I'm thinking of branching out, but I guess we'll have to see whether or not I'll end up doing that, or at least during the time of this recording. But yeah, anyway, so that's some good news. Now, okay. So now that that's out of the way, let's talk about today's episode. This is something I've been meaning to talk to, so you could say it's slightly pre-planned. So I'm planning to title this episode "Resolve," and I guess I'll talk about why. I mean, well, it's something I've had on my mind for a while now. So yeah, I just wanted to talk about it, and now that I'm saying it, I don't really know where to begin, but I guess I'll start with what sparked the inspiration. So, the simulation to this thought of resolve was a visit to one of my aunties. So this dates back to like the second or third week of Eid when we went to visit an old neighbor of ours who'd moved to Selangor a while back. It's been like 10 something years now. And our family has like quite the history with them. So we're pretty close and we consider ourselves family. Sorry, we consider each other family. Now, either way, this auntie, who was my neighbor, was curious about my studies. And since my diploma had ended, she wanted to know my options for my bachelor's degree. And at that time, I felt like the situation wasn't fit for me to be honest, so I settled with the cookie cutter answer that I've told pretty much everyone because it was a dream I used to have back in school, and that was journalism. Now, don't get me wrong, part of me still hopes for a spot in that field, but as more time passes, I'm not entirely sure if I'll be able to take it, like if I'll be able to handle that field of work. And whether or not that's true, it'll depend on which course I'd end up later in October, so we'll see. Now, either way, so I told my auntie about journalism, and she gave me this confused look. She was like, "Are you sure?" She didn't say it, but that was what it looked like to me. So then she asked me if I'd consider human resources, and then my mother saved my life. She was like, "Yeah, she's not interested in that," and it's true. Now, human resources is a field of work that my father has a history in, and if I'm going to ask anyone about that field, I might as well ask him because he's pretty much a veteran in human resources. And that's also the reason why I'm not interested in the field. Now, I don't have a grudge against it, and there's nothing wrong with it. In fact, I do think it's like a good career opportunity. What am I saying? Like, in terms of like career options, it's a very good field. But that's the thing. Like, that's a field of work that my father was in. And it's like, it feels anticlimactic. It feels lame if, say, I do end up in that field of work. I'm not gonna like go crazy over it if I do end up being an HR manager, but it's like, for the time being, since I have the choice to choose, since I have the option to choose, it's like, why would I go for an option that's clearly been chosen? Like, I can choose something else. So why would I, stick with something that my father has been in? And like I said, it just felt lame. So there's like no other reason to it, but it's easier to just explain to people that you're disinterested and go all over that and say that you just think it's lame. And then people would say it's not lame. What do you mean it's lame? It's like they wouldn't get it. But yeah, either way, there was one thing my auntie said that day that made me realize how reality can be a dookie to deal with. I won't even try to quote her words because I'll definitely get it all wrong, and it's been a while, so my memory is quite hazy. But it was a statement that had something to do with how I should focus on getting into a field of study that can bring me to a professional field of work, which would guarantee, or which would, in theory, guarantee me a bright future, or at least one that's good enough and I can get above average pay every month. It wasn't until that night when I got home from the visit, eyes all droopy, body comfortably under my covers, that the thought came crashing in like the heavy rain that's been happening the past week or two. Journalism to me was a gateway to making writing a full time job. I was inspired by one of my favorite authors at the time. This was back in school, by the way, who happened to start out as a journalist before committing full time to her writing. And to put it simply, my decision to pursue journalism was also mostly because I wanted to be in tandem with my passion for writing. And after that conversation with my aunt, I realized that literally anyone could be a writer, whether it be for fiction or news articles. It's not exactly a skill limited to a select few people in society. And I knew this, but I was busy writing the unicorn of passion and fantasies that I ended up forgetting. And so my resolve of 5 years came crumbling on me that night. And I felt so pathetic after that. I felt pathetic for thinking that everything will work out regardless of the choices I make. I realized then why people can fear the future as much as they do, and why movies are obsessed, mainly Disney movies, with leading the idea that pursuing your dreams is true happiness, because they don't know. They don't know when their chance will come. They don't know, like, say movies like Camp Rock, for example, right? The writers probably had this dream. They're probably like, I want to be in a band someday. I want to be successful someday. Heck, the storyline is probably based off like a similar life path. And then there they were, writing screenplays, writing corny lines for a script. And it's like, these movies were made as an outlet for them to realizing the dreams they couldn't achieve. Now, obviously, this is probably very not true, but you get the point. And I'm the type of person who dislikes over planning my future. I'd love to be rich and get a black card as much as the next person, but I find a fixed path to be unexciting. People live for different reasons, and I don't consider myself living if all I do is walk a singular straight path, not taking detours every now and then. My friends can confirm this. Always getting lost on the road. So when I realized that I may have to start planning harder and decide on which course I should settle on, I dreaded every second of it, because it felt weird. Like, I didn't quite feel like myself. Looking through the subjects for human resource on like the course description page and the subject list and everything, it felt weird. And I could feel myself slipping into this pit of worry that I might actually have to give up on that 5-year dream that I've been writing on this whole time. And the thing about a dream that revolves around creative talent is that the future will never be certain. Take K-pop, for example. You have 12 or so groups performing on music shows every week, but people only ever stay for the last 3 groups performing because they are the lucky few who got recognition in the industry. And it's not that the people who got to perform early aren't talented, it's either not their time yet, or simply not where they're supposed to be placing their bets for a stable career. In other words, to place hope, well, at least in my opinion, to place hope in a full-time career in creative fields is no different from a gamble. And exciting as that may sound for someone who enjoys occasional detours, I'm in no position to be placing any amount of money into a high risk gamble like this, which leads me to the more boring option, looking through my choices for university and actually pondering over them and not just clicking away and seeing where I land, which kind of is what I'm doing right now, but not exactly. and which leads to this other thing that my auntie said that had me brooding for a while as well, according to her, I had to limit or I needed to limit my options and stick to something that was a definite path, something certain, because that's how you end up in a professional field of work or something. Or in theory, how you end up in a professional field of work. But like I said, that path is not me. I hate it when my options are limited. I want the detours. It could be the fiery youth in me saying this, and I may or may not cringe at this during a re listen in the future, but right now, as of this recording, this is who I am. And once I realized that, it wasn't a tough decision to make. When I realized that all I had to do was simply prioritize options that could lead me to what you would consider a safe and secure career like HR, but at the same time, a course that could offer me the freedom of learning things within my realm of interest. It's not the definitive and certain path that my auntie had suggested, but it was the path that not only had that side, like that safe option, but it was also a path that puts me to ease. And then after I was done sorting my UPU application, submitting the form and everything, I realized that to some people out there, this way of living is probably like painful to look at because of how messy it is, not even knowing what to pursue and just going with the safer option and the ones, options that is safe, but not exactly definitive. And you can even say that I don't have resolve, and I'll agree with you because it's true. I don't have a long term resolve. I do have a goal though. Well, at least one goal. It has nothing to do with my career choices, but it's something that I really hope I'll get to fulfill. And that is, I want to travel with my friends. And it's not just to like one or two places or within the country or like within the area of Southeast Asia, the whole world, if I can, if we're able to. Like, I want to be able to travel with my friends to a lot of places and experience all the different cultures out there. And also, for the memories and probably for Instagram, who knows? But point is, I want to travel with my friends, and that's one of my goals. But, aside from that, what I want to do with life, what I want to do for my job, what I want to study, I don't know. I mean, I kind of know, but I also don't really know exactly where I'll end up. And it's thrilling for me, but to some people that's terrifying, right? Because how do you not know what to do with life? Do you not have a purpose? Kind of, but in a way, living to find that purpose is also a purpose in itself. Like, I'm not saying everyone should do that, but to me, I don't really need a reason to live if I'm living. This doesn't make sense, but it's like, I don't know. I just feel like pondering over a future that's probably, I'm someone, I wouldn't say I succumb to fate. Like, I believe in fate. I believe that things are pre planned, but I don't necessarily, succumb to it in a sense where I'm like, yeah, I'm just going to leave everything in the hands of fate and not work for it. Like, I still work for it, of course. It's just that when it comes to choices, I can't be too sure that that's what's going to happen. And because of like experience as well, like part of the reason why I enjoy having such loose options is because every time I plan or every time I can see the future, see in a sense where I can envision myself being in a certain environment, it almost never goes the way I see it. And not only is it disappointing, it's also a waste of complete time. Like, I plan all of this and then it's like it ends up not happening anyway. This ends up happening regardless. And it's like, why should I, overly worry over options that's not definitive anyway? Or at least options that I know have a chance of not happening. So rather than, worrying over that, I might as well see what happens. My efforts have been put into, thoroughly choosing these courses and thinking of what will make both sides happy. So right now, all I have to do is just wait and see where I'll end up. And I won't complain because there is nothing to complain because I don't have a purpose, because I don't have a long term resolve. I don't have that determination probably a lot of other people have. Like, I have a friend whose choices are based of what will make her parents happy. I have friends who have made choices since their school days or even before because, of deep inspiration of their dreams. And it's good. It's fine. You want to pursue your goals for whatever reason, that's up to you. To me, I'm doing it because I want to know myself. I want to know why I'm living this life for. Why, like, I could technically just, stop and go get a job right now and not exactly pursue my degree. And my parents, they'd probably be pissed about it, but in the end, they'll accept it regardless. And I can do that, but I didn't. If you ask me why I choose to still, consider furthering my studies, I wouldn't have an answer. I'll just say, because I just feel like it, because I feel like that's the better thing to do. And it's true. And it's not because I want to dodge the question. It's genuinely how I feel. It's because I don't know. I don't know whether I'm ready for a job, and I don't know if I'm willing to give up something that possibly has more in store for me. And it's like, I like to see, and the way I'm doing it is by tackling it head on. I'm just pursuing it because I feel like it. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that at all. And I feel like, with the way I'm living right now, I will, one way or another, find a reason as to why I'm doing any of this. And to put it simply, that is my resolve. My resolve is to find my purpose in life. And I think this is a great place to stop because I have nothing else to say. Um, I don't know. I feel relieved, oddly, after talking about this. I guess this was more of a burden on me than I thought it was, but then again, that will make sense as to why I've been feeling a little down in the slums lately and channeling that energy into like media consumption, cough, cough, bleach. Either way, thank you so much for listening. Assuming there was anyone who was like, anticipating for more episodes, I'm really sorry that it took a while, but now that there's this, fuzz talks thing, now that there's this rebranding nonsense going on, I feel like I'm gonna have more. I'll be having more room to talk about more things, and hopefully, I get to organize a more consistent schedule now that this is happening. So I'll see you the next. Have a nice day. Goodbye.